Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the morning brief on a Monday, September 28th, where we invest every day with military precision. If you're just joining us on either a replay or another format, we are a group of investors that gets together every morning to slay the market, looking for both short-term and long-term opportunities. If you are interested, contact me at steve@ototnow.com, and I will get you in on a free trial. All right, our military objectives for today in military style briefing are to grow our money, protect our money, and live off our money. For our tactical objectives today, what we're really looking to talk about is investing in Chinese stocks. And the reason I bring it up today is because today kicks off the first day of the 3-day Alibaba Investor Day, which I'll show you their website, if you will, and kind of talk about what they do there. But pretty interesting time. Excuse me, pretty interesting time to be invested in China stocks, because we also have the risk associated with that from the fact that, you know, if Trump gets reelected, which half of the country wants to happen, the other half does not. But if we get Trump reelected, obviously the China stocks are going to come under pressure some from the fact that he's going to want to do likely what he's always wanted to do, and that's actually go after China and some of the trade relationships we have there. So there is plenty of risk in these names, but I'll talk to them individually, and you can see them down here below. All right, our question of the day is, what is an American depository receipt? I will talk about how we invest in Chinese stocks on the U.S. markets instead of, you know, where they're listed, which is on, of course, on the China market out there. All right. As far as our flow today, we'll go long, short, open, short, long, and that means we're going to talk about the market review around the world, and then we'll come back to the headline review of here in the United States, and then we will get on into our particular investing long-term investments of the day. From there, once we get within 10 minutes of the market open, we're going to switch to our day trading opportunities that we have for you. I've looked up several. They're almost all long because the market's up big this morning. And I only have one short option that doesn't even fit our criteria. So probably going long there. So again, you can set yourselves up for either a paper trade or an actual trade. Again, you can use IRAs because we'll likely be going long. All right. From there, if you have we'll wrap up our day trading stuff within a few minutes of the market open, and then we will go into our question of the day and answer any questions that you have. As far as contingencies, make sure that you contact me at steve@ototnow.com. If you have any troubles out there, I have staff standing by to help you out. And then lastly, our standard disclaimer is in place. This is a financial education presentation, so you have to do your own due diligence before you act upon anything that you hear this morning to make sure it is the right thing for you. All right, let's take a look at the market as far as where we are in the TD Ameritrade platform, sharing that out to you now. Those are our day trading screens. We'll come back to those. Here is a 1 year of the S&P 500. Of note, you know, we were in this big uptrend for several months, kind of broke out of it this past month. Well, there's people claiming that we have found the bottom here. I don't think we have, just because of the election. So I'm not really a buyer here, but we have kind of held the 320 level. Again, I think my call is that we'll be down that 300 to 320 for the election at least, and we'll see after the election what happens. But had a nice big move up Friday, so let's take a look at that, and then I'll show you where we are going in today. So Monday, down, retested that Wednesday, Thursday, up, and then kind of back to where it was. And then Friday was basically a straight up day, which I, again, told you that morning it was kind of setting up as. I am a little bit surprised at how optimistic we are up here. So when you really look at between Friday, Friday at the open, all the way up, we're already exceeding new highs for the week. So pretty positive in the markets, and really not a whole lot of negativity in the markets this weekend. Obviously, there's going to be a fight over the Supreme Court, but really add that to the list of the political footballs that are out there. So not particularly thinking that's going to move the market, and it appears to be a lot less controversial than the last one. So we shall see. All right. As far as earnings, you know, it's Monday morning, so we're not going to see a whole lot. WB, which is a Chinese firm, Weibo, announced this morning, and they beat earnings. But we will talk to that once we get back over to our day trading stuff. All right, let's share out to you the CNBC headlines. You can see how we're doing this morning. And get over here to the U.S. markets, hit refresh. Dow's up over 1%, S&P 1.5%. Well, most of them are almost 1.5%. And the NASDAQ's up almost 2%. So again, those are your heavy tech names. I had Apple up earlier, and Apple was screaming higher. So kind of the carrying Apple and Tesla kind of carry these things a little bit. So we shall see. All right, let's see some other let's go around the world first. Europe was up really big across the board, even though they're in the face of increasing COVID-19 type increasing numbers of deaths, cases, all that sort of stuff. So they're working through some issues there. Let's see, Asia was up across the board, except China was down a little bit. But the Nikkei was also breaking new highs. So believe it or not, up really big over there when you look back over time, but kind of mixed across everything else. As far as there's our Friday numbers, over 2% in the NASDAQ, and it looks to be poised to continue in that direction. For bonds, a little bit of love there across the board. Oil above 40, so we like that. 40 to 60 is kind of our normal range. And then money flowing back into gold and silver, just incrementally moving higher there. So really pretty much green no matter where you look. As far as our headlines, yeah, technically it was a 4-week losing streak. It kind of seemed like it, but not really, because we didn't have those big moves down like we saw in March. So it's just kind of a little bit of a sell-off over time. So you're probably noticing the numbers getting smaller, but it's not that heart attack move where you're going down 7% a day that gets everybody all excited. So definitely a normal move going into an election that's contentious, if you will. More TikTok, blah, blah, blah. That's going through. It'll work itself out. Haven't read this. I saw that last night, though. Somebody posted it'd be nice not to have to pay taxes for decades. But anyhow, I don't know if this is a true story or just kind of a political story. But big time business, you're going to have some misses. So we shall see. All right, Caesars they're doing a secondary offering of stock. That's why they're up. Spotify just got an upgrade. Again, that's a good stock to have. FedEx got an upgrade. I did not see that in my research, so let me add that to my notes and see what's going on there. Virgin Galactic, so space, remember the original SPAC, if you will, SPCE is now the ticker. Again, 2 more buy ratings as this whole space flight thing gains in popularity, or the idea of it, if you will. Amazon Prime Day coming up. One of the reasons we're talking about Alibaba is Alibaba Investor Day starts today. So kind of the same thing. It's their annual big deal. Yeah, I do think we'll get a stimulus package, I think this week, to be honest. All right, that is it kind of for the headlines. So let's start talking about Alibaba. We'll get back up here to the top. All right, here's the Alibaba website. Obviously, it's a Chinese company, the Chinese Amazon, if you will, is how most people are viewing that. So if you go to the website, though, almost any website of big companies out there, they have this. They'll have an investor relations, and then you click on that tab, and then that's where you can find things like this if you're ever doing your own research out there. But it's basically kicks off here it is in the bold, virtual 2020 Investor Day. Generally, there's a link you can check out and tune in on these things. I watch like Apple releases. I watched Battery Day. I'm not going to watch the Alibaba Day, and I assume it's translated to English anyway. But the interesting stocks tend to move around these things because that's when you get the big announcements. And of course, it can miss too, kind of like on Battery Day, where they announced all this stuff and then said, "Oh, by the way, that we're talking 18 months at the earliest for anything we just talked about, which can crush the stock. So Alibaba, I do expect it to be on the move here. I would really only buy more if it went down significantly, like over 10% this week. So we'll see. Otherwise, we're just holding what we have, and you may not be in it at all because it's not right for everybody. But that's where you find out more information. When you look at the stock of Baba and where it's been, we'll pull that up real quick. Again, here's your COVID stuff, sell off down to 180, touched not quite to 300. Now it's down in the 270s or so. So I'd imagine good news story this week, probably take it above 280 and it'll hang in there. But obviously it's an uptrend, kind of like everything else in the market is as money goes in. When you get down here to the ratios, you can see PE ratio of 28. That's actually pretty good for a kind of big techie type firm, even though they're retail, it's kind of considered a tech firm, if you will. Lots of good earnings and profits in this column. Short float, only 2%, which isn't bad for a company this size. And then, of course, decent return numbers over here. And no dividend, that's why it's not right for everybody, because it is speculative. All right, we go over to other China names. We're going to take a look at the Schwab Advisor Street Smart Edge display. Coming to you now. All right, so here's Alibaba that we just talked about. And talking stimulus, well, stimulus and TikTok over here on CNBC on the right, if your eyes go over there. But back to the Chinese stuff. So Baba is an individual name. Now, when you see Baba and IQ, which is basically IQWI, the Chinese Netflix, those ticker symbols are listed directly on a U.S. exchange that they're listed. When you look at these two, Tencent Holdings, which, is, I talk about a relationship with Epic Games. It's just Fortnite. They have their hands in all kinds of things. So it's a holding company. So they're going to have pieces and parts of a lot of stuff. TCEHY, that means it's unlisted. That means it's on the OTC, over the counter exchange. So you can buy it, but sometimes there's a commission with it, and commission free world. Luckin Coffee also, it used to be LK when it was listed. Obviously it has fraud charges way back, which took it from the 50. Let's see, how high did we get here? Yeah, over 50, almost $55 a share, down to below to $1, and then we bought in here. The best entry I got, I think, for anybody was $1.12. Buying it hand over fist down here. And then it's got some good news recently. Good news meaning it was only fined $9 million when I think people expected probably $100 to $304 million for some of the acts. So got fined. Now there's going to be a bunch of lawsuits that go towards it, but most of those are investor-related lawsuits. And you generally have no recourse at all, and those are class action lawsuits. If you held this name, you may get something in the mail from some law firm saying, hey, participate in our lawsuit against this company, and they generally don't go anywhere. But they'll have to get through some legal stuff, and then I do expect the stock to march back higher. I think it's got long-term potential up to 20. So as far as the individual names, in Baba, that's a major staple. So been in it for years and just holding it, looking for more. IQWI I've been in and out of because you can see it moves all over the place. Have very little of it now, but again, if it would get hit, I would buy more. Tencent Holdings I love, but I'm out of it now because it's run up so high. And going into the election, I don't want anything to do with this thing because there's only really one way for it to go, in my opinion. But then Luckin Coffee, you can acquire this. You have to be patient, sit and hold, watch it. It can be a house of pain when it moves on down, but getting in below $3, I think you're fine. Again, $10 to $20 range within a few years. Once they get all their legal stuff behind them and get back into their primary business, they have so many storefronts in China that it's ridiculous. So I think they will kind of follow a Starbucks model with a very addictive, it's tea first over there and then coffee, but both high volume, high margin, addictive products. I think they're set up for success. If you don't want to use individual names, and that's not a bad idea when you start talking about foreign firms, here's a couple of ETFs for you to consider. KWEB is not obviously, what it is a Chinese internet specific index fund. And when you hear that, then it's obviously that's going to be high risk. So don't get into this if you don't want it to, it'll move, but it also moves down as well. So if Trump gets reelected, I expect this thing would get hit pretty hard, actually. And that would be a buying opportunity. So that's why I'm waiting. I'm not buying a lot going into the election. It's kind of painful just to sit and wait and watch things. But that's also called being disciplined and being prudent. MCHI is so CHI being China. That's the largest of all of the China ETFs out there. So again, if you buy a Chinese ETF, you're going to own probably 100 or more China companies that are all put into this firm. Now, or put into this one fund. Now, what I think is interesting is these charts are almost mirror image of each other. They're a little different scale. But if you look at it, they're almost a mirror image. They're kind of trading together, which they really shouldn't. This one should move more. So there's going to be safety in the MCHI relative to KWEB. So, all right, that's what we've got there. Let's go ahead and take a look at some trading stuff as we make our transition into the open. 13 minutes to go. All right, for long names, I have about 15 of them, and I do not have a short name. So if you find anything while we're talking short-wise, feel free to pop that into the chat, and we'll take a look. Actually, since I only have one name, let's look at that first. Inovio, that's a name that I like and have been trading this year. Pharmaceuticals, it is gapping down to the tune of 32%. So yeah, that's not something we want to normally touch. 33% is where it's sitting at right now. But when you look at the volume plays, there's really nothing much that has the volume, and these aren't individual tickers. These are trading mechanisms, which we don't generally get in on those, long or short. So not really meeting anything that we want as far as our criteria out there. So I'm sorry, here's INO. I think it just bumped up to the top. So down 33%. So yikes. Closed at 1694, down at 1129. I'm sure there's okay, pauses the coronavirus vaccine trial plan. So bad news for Inovio. I do have it pulled up. We'll see if it can go short anymore. Obviously, it's got room to run to the downside, at least a buck down to 10, then it starts to run into some resistance. So it's up there. That'll be our short for one of the screens if we can't find anything else. All right, on the long side, let's take a look at, we saw the two upgrades from the headlines of space, which is Virgin Galactic. Plenty of volume, so we'll get the volume players up here. Plenty of volume, 1643 up to 1839, so sitting around this range right here. Has plenty of room to move higher, as you can see, all the way up to 27 there. So that, again, is a double upgrade. And there was a bunch of talk earlier on CNBC, depending on when you entered the room. I have CNBC pulled up, and that's what they're talking about, is how many people are going to get in on space travel for leisure, right? So don't think satellite repair, this is just for the idea of doing it. And Virgin Galactic's really your only player out there right now. SpaceX is talking about it later on of going back and forth to Mars, but really space travel just for the sheer heck of doing it is Virgin Galactic. So I don't know. Be interesting to see if people want to do that. We'll see. And then of course, with any space program, just like early days of aviation, you're going to have run into some issue at some point, which will crater the stock. So that's an interesting long for today. So we'll keep that in mind. Let's see. There's a SINA is going private. Let's take a look at it. Whoop, stop there. SINA. I believe that's Cena Corp, 40 to 42. Oh, it's owned by Weibo, WB. We talked about that earlier. That's why this is not going to go private at 43.30 a share. So pretty much that's what you're going to see, the move to the upside there. Some people will trade that. I would not trade that. Question, why would it not immediately go to 43.30 a share? Right? It may not go through. So the plan is for it to go private at 43.30, but when they start, they basically put a tender offer. If you've gotten those in your email or in the mailbox, hey, we want to buy your shares at this amount. Well, investors can say no. You aren't legally required to sell your shares of anything. Obviously, if they announce that they're going private, there's two competing interests there, right? You as the shareholder are like, oh, sweet, I get a premium to where the stock has been trading. So it gets up 8% or so. So I get a premium. But then again, it's why are they going private? Why don't they want to stay public? What are they going to take private and make money on that they don't want me to make money on? So again, remember when you go public, that's largely the founders cashing out, but continuing the business. Going back private, Dell Computer did this. Michael Dell went, okay, that's so stupid. I'm going to buy all my stock back and go private again. And they did, and then went public again, which he did. There's been rumors of Tesla stock, if it ever does crash, that Elon Musk is just going to buy it anyway and take it private. So that obviously helps it not to crash. So yeah, that's why I don't think it'll trade all the way up to 43.30. They leave it a little the risk premium there, if you will. So not something we're going to touch today, but good as far as a discussion. WB is Weibo. Again, they just made this announcement. They're gapping 32. They had earnings and they made all these announcements that we just talked about, 32.5 up to 34.3. There's their beat by 4 cents, beats on revenue, so basically across the board. 34.5, a little light on the volume, so we have to wait on volume there, put a V by it. All right, MT, I'm not familiar with MT, but it had a headline this morning. Plenty of volume, 1209 to 1320. Share repurchase program, share buyback. So those are tough to, those are good news, tough to trade. So not really interested in looking at that. CLF. Cleveland Cliffs does have the volume, 588 to 641. Acquires MT, so again, it was in bed with the previous one, so both those are up. MT and CLF are merging, so we'll take a look at those. Not going to trade them, but we'll come back to them after the market opens. ORTX is a name that I do have pulled up here, which I really like. Doesn't have the volume, that's the issue. So this would be you have to wait for the entry. But 442 up to 464. So when you look at where the stock was down here, closing, it's up at 464 on light volume. But it does have some pharma related blah, blah, blah news, but which are all positive, right? So looking, that will be one of our choices to follow along. It's up 0.9, or it's up 9% right now. All right, a company out there, CPK, which is Chesapeake Utility. Don't think CPK Chesapeake Energy, which went bankrupt. So CPK is the utility version of that. It's getting added to the small cap 600. So good news story there. Low volume, but 76 all the way up to 83.49. So pretty big move up. And I'd imagine that's going to continue up. We have to wait for the volume though. All right, Caesars is doing a secondary offering, so we'll take a look at Caesar real quick. Again, Caesar, casinos, airlines, all of the cruise lines, all of those have started to bounce a little bit on the reopening theme. So that went back to Chesapeake, so scratch that. Here we go, back to Caesars. All right, plenty of volume, 57 up to 58.2. So again, that's up in 58.52 in this range. So may have trouble making new highs based off of this. Offering 30 million more shares to pay for a deal. So M&A stuff could go higher. I'm not going to trade it, but you could take a look at it. LTHM is lithium. Now, this is an interesting play because it's a sympathetic from PLL, which we have to look at first. PLL is Piedmont Lithium, which is up 213% today. It's probably on one of these lists somewhere, depending on where it's listed. Oh, made a liar out of me. I don't see it. But anyhow, it's obviously up 11 up to 35. So you can't touch something like that as it's spiking higher. But basically, Tesla announced a big sales agreement. But you can look forward, you say, okay, well, if something's like that, what else is out there that I can do sympathetically that's going to be up? And there's Livent, low volume, but in picking up, it would be there by the time the market opens. 788 up to 837, so it's got room to run higher. So I really like this name. So I'm actually going to put it, that'll be our third name. If we don't take the short, then we'll look at lithium long. So right now, ORTX, Pharma looking long, lithium looking long, and then Plug is my number one long for today. 3.5 minutes to go. So there's the plenty of volume, 1165 up to 1240. It's basically a bounce off of all the EV names that sold off yesterday from Battery Day. So that's what you're looking at. It also got an upgrade to overweight, so that's why it's my number one. We'll pull that up on the chart here in a little bit. And then Tilray is a cannabis name, gapping up. There's some talk, again, these have been money losers for a long time, but 479 all the way up to 5. I could see this going higher too. Reducing nausea and vomiting, and the rest of that you don't see off the screen is in chemotherapy. So again, that's nasty stuff if you're treating cancer, and they're doing all kinds of bad things to your body. So if this is true, that would be great news for everybody. Okay, so that'd be one we could cycle back to. I'll put an X or a star next to it and take that in a little bit of a delay if we decide to. All right, going to share out TD Ameritrade. We'll get set up for the trade of the day. And think pipes, here we go. All right, Plug, so we have SPY on the left. We're taking a look at that. Plug I already have up there. We've been watching it. This is the ORTX. It's slightly traded, so that's why I moved it to a 5-day. But they're down here, and they're gapping up. They went all the way to $5, and now it's sitting at this 458, which is the number right there. So really like looking at that, maybe on a little bit of a delay entry if it stays down here in this range. And INO, that's the short we'd be looking at, which I think I'm going to kill off just because it's too far. It's down to, let's see, well, 17 down to 10, that's 30-some%. So let's call that too far gone and put in the LTHM. So looking long only. Today we'll go back to the 1 minute. You know the history here, so we'll go back to the 1 minute today chart. So yeah, anywhere in here, nice easy price point for us to be able to take. So let's talk as far as all these are long markets. Not on the right trajectory going in, but that's fine. So let's talk as far as Plug and stops. Generally, you'd use a 10-cent stop with a one in this range. We're probably going to need 15 to 20, just so we don't get bounced out on a little sell-off. ORTX, 10 to 15, looking more at 10 if we can get a good setup. And then lithium, LTHM. Looking at a 10-cent stop there unless it starts flopping all over the place. So, all right, we're set up for play of the day. We got 4 screens in front of you. We have SPY on the left. That's a 1 minute chart looking at exactly what the S&P 500 is doing going in. Plug is my top choice for today. Again, EV name on a bounce, as well as the lithium news out of Tesla. So again, we're looking long on all 3 of those. In the middle, we have ORTX, which is a pharma name that's gapping up. Not quite as much as it was. It was already up here, so we'll keep an eye on 1 minute. And then the right is lithium. This is a sympathetic play as well to the upgrades or the relationship that Tesla has with PLL. All right, so here now that we're open, you can see where we are. We're in that 5 to 10% range. This is obviously just screaming higher on us, so we can't just throw a dart and take that. We need to stop and chill out for a second and then look at our entries. So rolling over to ORTX does not appear to be open yet, so keep an eye on that. And then lithium up 6%, so you can see it in the range there. I kind of like the setup in this because it has a nice big move up. Somebody this morning paid $9 for it, and now it's down at $8.41. So if this comes in a little bit more, then we'll look at it for the long. Still waiting on ORTX, see what it's doing. Don't know if we're going to get much of an entry here, but I do want it to come back down in this range before we can turn around and take it long. Well, there we go. Getting close. All right, so what's the stop going to need to be here? This is a 20-cent stop, if you will. We're going to let this fall, then we're going to take it back long. So right now I'm at 12.58. I would love to be able to get it down here at 12.50. All right, 12.50, let's take it there. 12.50 long is our entry point, or maybe you got just a few pennies above that. We're looking at a 20-cent stop is down to 12.30. So down here, plenty of room to the downside. And here's our arrow, so you know where we took it and which direction we're taking it. So you're taking plug long. So 12 up to 12.70 would be the first R. That would be 1. And then we'll count them higher when it gets there. All right, zooming in on the overall market. Not much going on here in this ORTX, so not necessarily caring for that. I do like this lithium play. 10 to 1040. Don't jump away while I'm looking at you. Zoom back out a little bit. All right, so we're in this trade. Market's doing nicely long. We're in this trade long. This one we're still kind of looking at. It's up at 9%. Plenty of volume. I don't just want to buy it here, even though I think it is just going to go higher. Probably not going to get a better entry that I'm looking for, so we may have to pass on this one. But we're going to keep it here. I don't like the ocean or the motion of the ocean out of ORTX, so let's kill that off and bring up some other names that we're going to look at. SPCE up at 12%. Going higher. Trade's working over here, almost to an R, so we'll keep an eye on that. Nothing to really trade out of SPCE. Let's look at CINA. This is the one that was going private at 43.30, so it's just kind of chilling there. Don't need to look at that. WB was in motion earlier. Nice pop out of WB right away. And again, that's M&A. Nope. That was earnings. It was for WB, so that's nice. The M&A was MT. Not having any love, combined with CLF. All right, people are saying CLF's getting the better end of the deal here. So again, up almost 10% already. Caesars secondary offerings, check that out. Wah, 58 down to almost $2 sell-off there. It's actually in the red from where it was gapping. So people aren't liking that. Tilray, that was an interesting name we were going to take a look at. TLRY. All right, this again was the for the nausea. Cannabis, does it help with nausea? That sort of thing. 495 down to 485. It's actually not a bad entry here for a long. Not really that interested though. I like this lithium play better. As it continues to go higher with me not in it. Yeah, there was my shot, but that wasn't much of a shot to get in it. So I'm going to let that one go. Here's the market higher. All right, let's see. What else we have? One more name. I'll look at Shell. You know, Shell, it's an EV name. Truck maker. Whoops, that's not going in the right direction. It was up touched 14% pre-market. So even with the sell-off, it's still up 6.8%. I do have some of this in the book. So That's actually a pretty good entry if you want to go long. It's all the way down here, getting these nice dojis. You'd have to go with the 50-cent stop though. But even a 50-cent stop in here at 48, 48.50, 49, you're back out of the trade by, 49.50 up in this range. You could even go a bigger stop than that. Actually, I think I'm going to call this. Let's go 48.8 there, just hit it. We're going long, so there's the entry point. This is too good of a setup, and we're looking at a 50-cent stop, so we'll get that set up here in a second. Here's our entry. Terrible arrow. So 50 cents for 8.30 is down here. And it looks like we're maybe already at our stop. So then 48.8, 49.8 would be 2R. So that's 2R. And then 50.30 would be 3R. So there's our 3R point. So we are already back out of this trade. So nice trade there. So when you see something selling off like this, it's you don't want to take it all the way down at the bottom, right? So, but you see these long dojis, it's like they're selling off, it's trying to go higher, selling off, trying to go higher. I'll get the other, so this chart looks right. 49.30 was our 1R point. So when you're looking at that, it's just like, it keeps bouncing higher, keeps bouncing higher. You have to take it somewhere in here. I could have waited till 49. Even if you wait till 49, you're still getting a 3R trade. So you don't need to be, too jumpy about getting into this trade here. But is it a strong name? Yes, it's Shell. It's EV. All this EV plays are going higher. So even though the market's down for a couple minutes here, able to hop in on a nice trade. Okay, so we're still in this trade. This is our 1R point for plug. It is not moving. It's not flopping around, so that's good news. But we have to be patient with it. We never got in the lithium trade. Not a real good, never got that perfect entry. But let's go ahead and take a look at the other names that are out there. All right, so switching back to, it's 8 minutes into the open. One trade in the books. We have our other stop limit on the other trade. So worst cases, we're out 2R. We're up 2R. We made 3 off the one trade, then lose 1 on the other trade. That'd be worst case. All right, CLS up big. That's a penny stock. Going to another screen to see where that is, because I actually have a sell trigger in here on some of it. So CLS. Okay, still not at my trigger. All right, so psychedelic name, there's Shell. We just took that for a quick trade. Shroom, psychedelic name, Tesla up. You'll see some EV names. Workhorse, Neo, of course, Shell we just talked about. A lot of names moving up and moving up pretty significantly. Let's see what's on the red list out there. Nikola, again, getting beat up, and well, deservedly so. A lot of negative articles out there. Again, CEO resigned, I think, back over here, just off the chart. And again, this is Monday through Friday next week. It might have been here where the CEO resigned. But anyhow, not getting a whole lot of love, and don't expect it to get any. MongoDB, Northwest Bio, a couple of the treasury funds, bond. And really, that's it. So pretty much everything else is in the green today. So let's go back to the SPY here. All right, SPY's up 1.3, NASDAQ up 1.5, and Dow Jones up 137. All right, back to our day trade. Oh, there we go. Looks like we're getting some love. So 12.5 to 12.7. 12.90 is our second R. So it's up in here would be number 2. So again, I would just leave the stop in. If you took this and you took that one real quick and made the 3R, you could up your your exit point out of from 12.3. You could either take it up to break even. I have no problem with that, or up at here at 12.7. You're probably going to hit it back at 12.7 though, because it's flopping around. But again, you can take that trailing stop and bring it north now, since we are 10 minutes into the trading day, and arguably you just want to set it and forget it at this point. So all right, last thing I'm going to talk to is I'll leave that up to there while I'm talking about American depository receipts. So how do you hold these Chinese names? Well, they trade on the Chinese market. So what happens is there are these companies out there that broker this deal. They buy the shares off of the other exchange, which again, I can't log into TD Ameritrade or Schwab and trade directly the Alibaba shares that are on a foreign exchange. I can't do that. But what I can do is buy an ADR, which is American Depository Receipt, meaning it's an equivalent. Holding company has those shares. I'm buying a certificate representing those shares. So is there a risk in that? No, there's not. So let's take that to the next level. So obviously as a shareholder of Alibaba, you get to vote. Well, that's how I vote is not only do I own those shares through this arrangement called an ADR, I own the voting rights too. So literally it's just an accounting procedure. So, and I still have everything I would if I had bought it on that exchange. Now, what is different is when Alibaba trades day to day on a foreign exchange, that does not, that's what the homeland investors are paying for the stock moving up and down. What we're looking at over here is what U.S. investors are are deciding it's worth over here. So you could have them out of sync. We've talked about things being out of sync before, like the VIX, which is volatility, and VXX, which is how you trade it. They don't travel one for one. These are open markets. Remember, the spot price that you see is the last two people on the planet that agreed to the price. So that's what we have out of an ADR. And again, there's no risk on the bank that holds these shares because they're just passing through things out there. So it says U.S. banks purchase the shares on the foreign exchange. They hold it as the inventory and issue an ADR for domestic trading. Either New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ, and they're also sold over the counter. Again, that's what you see out of like Luckin Coffee or 10 Cent Holdings. Those are over the counter. Oh, the monetary issue. So obviously we trade over here in dollars. So our shares are represented in dollars, where obviously in the home country, the RMB over in China, that is separating that's the money over there. So if you have currency risk, which is for foreign exchange trading, all that stuff, that's not applicable to you. So that's already built in to whatever the U.S. stock market decides those shares are worth. All right, there's different levels. If you want to nerd out on ADRs, you can. I think that's probably about enough of it. Pros and cons, the history, and I've already talked about real world examples. So that's all I've got on ADRs for the question of the day. All right, for the trade of the day, so let's recap and then I'll let you go. So we entered here, plug long, it was my top holding. Again, 12.5, we're waiting for 13 is our, do I have the math there? No, I don't. Let me do that again. 12.5 to 12.7 is 20 cents, to 12.9 is another 20 cents. So 13.10 would be your exit point there. So kind of off the chart for our 3-hour trade. Here's what the market's doing. Let's back that out. So still up over %. This looks ugly, but we're still up over % in the green, and EV names are trending higher. For this one, we took a shell secondary, opened up here, and then had this big streak. Again, you'll see in trading, you have to just sit and wait for, sometimes things set up, sometimes they don't. This obviously is a perfect setup for you because it's selling off all the way down here. You cannot take it here. That would be throwing a dart at the screen. You have to wait for it to retract. We took it at 48.8. By the time you got your order in, maybe it was 5 cents later or whatever. So you'd have to adjust your math from there. And then basically in this first minute while we had the trade, actually less than a minute, we had 3 hours. So again, getting your stops in as fast as possible and then get back out of the trade. All right, so that's what I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for checking in. We will catch you back in at the morning brief tomorrow morning at the same time. You guys enjoy your Monday. We'll talk to you soon.